Veteran cop played by Charles Bronson teams up with our new rookie cop played by Andrew Stevens to take on a nefarious and quite ingeniously insane serial killer played by a popular genre actor, Gene Davis, who also acted in Cruising and, another Charles Bronson movie, The Messenger. 10 to Midnight is a film that split pretty much the Gene Siskel and Roger Ebert down the middle, with Roger Ebert really disliking the film and Gene Siskel loving it. And my thoughts on it, well, they're coming up in my caffeinated review. Cannon's team of Golden Globus may have been falling apart at the time, but how did that affect the movie 10 to Midnight, a Bronson flick? Well, as you guys know, I'm a huge fan of this movie here. So how was it to go back and watch it again and to just to see how it would stand the test of time? I was actually kind of worried going into this. I was worried that this wasn't going to play as well for me as it did when I was younger. I was worried that my better half may not actually be into it uh, as much as I was, or actually would get kind of bored with it. I wasn't sure on her like taking the Bronson era of films, since this is the first one we actually watched together. Bronson plays a pretty much a hardballed cop. He's been on the force for quite a while, and he's tired. His relationships have suffered. He's a widower. His wife has passed on. He doesn't have a good relationship with his daughter anymore, and and he's drawn into this case of this serial killer, played by Gene Davis, who does a brilliant job actually of setting up an alibi. He goes into a theater, talks to two girls, pretty much acts kind of a jerk, and he does this for the specific reason that they're going to remember who he is. So when they kind of like shush him away type of thing, he goes to the washroom, climbs out the window in the washroom stall, goes down to the intended victims, dresses naked, undresses, and then disposes of both of them. The girl who's the intended target, and the guy that just happens to be with her, as mentioned by Andrew Stevens' character early in the film. Now we get the kind of like the buddy cop thing. With Andrew Stevens being by the book. He's just started. He's not a jaded police officer. With Charles Bronson, who's got many combinations over the years. He's become he's a highly decorated officer, and his relationships have suffered because of that. We see exactly how into the cases he is. We don't see a lot of his home life, and we're kind of led to believe that Charles Bronson in this film has pretty much neglected having a home life. That the job has become his life, and as he's become like older, and he's starting to realize, as he's seeing these younger victims that are associated with his daughter. The daughter knew the victim. That maybe it's time that he rethought his values and got back into his daughter's life. Well, he's still obsessed with catching this killer, and the killer's played brilliantly. There's no mystery to this story here. The killer is the type of killer you'd see on Columbo, the one who kind of thinks it out ahead of time, and then plans it, and then revels in the fact of getting away with it. And in many ways, this is much like Dirty Harry, in the way that the killer knows that the cop knows that he did it, and likes put it in his face and pretty much get away on technicalities, and know that no matter what he does, at the end of the day, he feels that the system's going to coddle him, that he can say he's crazy, and he'll get a light sentence, and sooner or later he's back to doing it again. There are some pretty decent kills in this film here. This is not a horror film, so I don't want to rate it in that way. But the Gene Davis as the killer is creepy all the way through. He's never shown as the character that you really empathize with at all, and that was done on purpose. We didn't want a character in this film that you felt sorry for, that he's had, oh, what a poor life he's had, or he's just a really, really creepy guy, and he never comes off any time as being anything other than like a utterly despicable. He thinks more of himself than he does of anyone else. He's pretty much a sexless being, and the only way that he's managed to get this out is through kills. It's even Bronson even like him like says to him like, I don't think you've ever had sex. I think this is the way that you get it. This is the only way that you can get off. And we see when he kills the girl at the beginning of the film that it almost is like a sexual cathartic release for him. But overall, what we're getting here is an awesome story between a cat and mouse story between the killer and the cop. The for the first part of the story, it's pretty much the killer's story. He's maneuvering through Charles Bronson's life. He's like getting involved. He's going to the funeral of his victim. He's going into her house to steal her diary. The roommate shows up. He disposes of her as well. Manages to help use the night before as an alibi for that. Bronson doesn't buy it for a minute. He doesn't buy that this guy is innocent. There isn't a time in this film, I don't think, that Bronson looks at this guy and doesn't know that he's guilty right from the second that he sees him. And Andrew Stevens is more of a... He also believes he's guilty, but he believes that there's rules and laws and things that are put in place and set for him to do that. Things have to be done in a certain procedural way. And this comes up later on because Bronson will end up really wanting to get this guy. Stacy keeps getting out from under the cracks. He kills people. He flaunts it in Bronson's face, and he thinks he's going to get away with this. Bronson decides to set him up. He gets some blood from the laboratory, plants it on Stacy's clothes, and Bronson, being the stand-up guy that he is, when he's confronted by Stevens before the trial about this and that Stevens is going to have to go up and perjure himself on the stand, rather than have Stevens' character do that, Bronson comes forward. He says, I did it. I set him up. You should know this before going in. Of course, the trial is thrown out, and Bronson is thrown off the force. And here's where it changes. Here's where you think the killer calls Bronson as a taunt, as a way that he's going to be taunting Bronson into that, kind of like you see with Scorpio with the Dirty Harry film. But it takes a twist here. Now Bronson becomes the one that's playing the games. He follows the killer. He maneuvers himself into the killer's workspace. He's there, but still not touchable. They know that he's doing something, but they really can't do anything about him because just like the killer was doing before, Bronson is playing within the confines of being able to antagonize the killer, but not get anything done to him. Meanwhile, and it's a great story. We have some great casts here. We've got Charles Bronson, Andrew Stevens, Lisa Eilbacher, Gene Davis, who does an excellent job playing the killer. We have the ever competent character actor of Jeffrey Lewis. We've got Wilford Brimley in this one here. We even have Kelly Preston. Yeah, very young Kelly Preston is in this movie as one of the of Lisa Eilbacher's roommates. Eilbacher plays the daughter of Bronson. She's a nursing student, and there's like the massacre that goes on later on in the film. Basically, at the end of the film, the killer can't take it anymore. He can't. He has to do something. He always has to be in control, and Bronson taking the control away from him has it has the result you would expect. He decides that he needs to get back in Bronson no matter what. All of a sudden, the fact of him getting away with it doesn't matter anymore. He doesn't care. He's going after Bronson's daughter, and he does so in a kind of an ingenious way. He sets Bronson up to come after him, kills a prostitute, and then slips out where Bronson is trying to basically to get help for her to get the police out there. And meanwhile, he's on his way to go after the daughter. The daughter is there in the home with a bunch of other girls. So she rooms with a bunch of other student nurses, and he comes in naked because the killer always goes naked in this one here, to keep off anything off of his actual clothing. And he slaughters them all. He kills every one of them except for the daughter. And it comes to the the ingeniously scene that everybody remembers, with Bronson's daughter running from the killer while the killer's coming after her, buck naked, down the dark street to finish the job, and Bronson shows up. It's an ingenious scene that you know where it has to go, but you're not quite sure how it's going to get there, and you're not quite sure what the repercussions are going to be of it. Now, there's a final face-off with the police swarming all around, and Bronson pretty much facing off with the killer. Of course, Bronson's not on the force anymore, but he's protecting his daughter. He's saving her from this killer, and he does so. And the killer gives up. He taunts him. He tells him how he's going to talk about all the voices that he's heard, the things that told him to do it, that he's crazy, that he can't be held accountable. And he'll be back, and he'll antagonize Bronson again, and he'll one day, sometime, try until he does get someone close to Bronson, his daughter, for instance. And that's when Bronson kills him. He shoots him point blank in the head. The movie comes up to a huge dolly shot, a kind of a crane, one of the big crane shots, and basically we see as the police swarm around, as Bronson just stands there over the dead body. So where's it going to go from there? That's left up to us. Does will Bronson be arrested? Or because it is cold-blooded murder. Is there extenuating circumstances? Or is it just a fun little movie where we just leave it right there? It's all up to you when you watch the film and how you want to take it. I like to think that Bronson, the fact that he was protecting his daughter, and that and once you look at the massacre that the killer has just done in this house, that Bronson will probably get a tap on the wrist. Bad guy. But that's me. I wanted to see I really have to say right now, I love this film. I love the way that it plays thematically. The performances all through it are solid. There's not a bad performance in the film, not even from the minor actors. For all you horror fans out there, watch really closely when the killer takes a prostitute to the hotel. You'll notice that the guy behind the counter, that's the guy that plays the preacher in Halloween 4, the one that picks up Sam Loomis and talks about the fact that they're both after the same thing. They're both fighting evil. There's some great actors in this, some great character actors, some just solid acting all around. The direction by J. Lee Thompson is exquisite, and he really knows how to do these type of films. This isn't his first time in the rodeo, and it really shows. Bronson does a pitch-perfect performance here, and it's not the same performance that he plays in a lot of his roles. This is not the Paul Kelsey type character. This is not the Death Wish guy. This is the guy that gets to the point that he has to do that. This is the tired police officer. This is an officer that's been on the job a lot. This is an officer where the job has become his life, and he starts to realize as he's getting older, it's winding down. It's time to reconnect with his daughter again. It's time to help mend those wounds. We get the aspect of an officer just coming onto the force, an idealism that Andrew Stevens has, a kind of an unfaltering goodness. And even when Andrew Stevens does things that unfortunately helps the killer get away from justice and damns Bronson, Bronson never once faults Andrew Stevens for what he does, because he knows that Andrew Stevens' character is doing the right thing. When the daughter, pretty much who's kind of having a romantic relationship, starting to with Andrew Stevens, pretty much rags on Stevens for putting her father in this position, for getting him fired from the force. Bronson points out, this is exactly who he would have been when he started. They're just at different places right now, but he understands completely what he did, and never once says that Andrew Stevens did the wrong thing, even though it does end up with the massacre of three more characters. The film overall was fantastic. There's not a boring second in this movie, and a lot of films like this could tend to drag on, tend to go past their wait time. But and this movie runs about 102 minutes. So there's always that thing at 102 minutes that it can get a little long in the tooth. But we have such great acting here and such great direction that it doesn't get the chance to do that. The killer is so despicable and does such an amazing job. From the very minute you start seeing Gene Davis's character on the screen as Warren Stacy, you want this guy caught. You don't want him just caught. You want this guy dead because he is a despicable character, and Davis does an amazing job in these type of roles. He does a fantastic job in this one here, and I have to find myself Copy the Messenger again to watch it because I know he's a bad guy in that. I looked it up. The presentation on this one is going to surprise nobody. This is a Twilight time film, guys, and I'm being won over and converted to the cult of Twilight time because this one here is stunning. The picture quality on this is incredible. I read on one of the reviews online that the audio was not the best on this one here, so I turned it on. I was kind of thought I was going to get, but the audio was amazing. The whole thing, quality-wise, picture, audio, it was fantastic. It was like seeing the movie in the theater. Just incredible. I can't say enough good stuff about this film here. From the presentation, from the film itself to the presentation to the audio, they just did an amazing job. Twilight Time really did knock this out of the park. Apparently, there is other Charles Bronson movies on Twilight Time as well. There's a great viewer said that The Mechanic is also on there, so I may have to check that out. Bronson's 10 to Midnight is a classic Bronson film. If you haven't seen it, you really owe it to yourself to check it out. So me, I agree with the late great Gene Siskel on this one. This is a great Bronson film. It's a classic. It's a good film, and it's one of those movies that you watch and you'll go back to it because it due to the fact that you're not having to guess the killer, that the action is out there right in front. Now, some people did have problems with you'll end up going back to the film. Some people at the time did have problems with the fact that there was there's nudity in this film and quite a bit of it, and the fact that there's violence in this film, but it's about a serial killer, and the nudity isn't just of the female characters in the film. There are male characters that are naked as well, and the killer himself strips off naked, which I'm guessing probably made this hard one to put on TV. I know that I think they did a TV version where they're in their underwear rather than nude, so just so that they could play it for syndication on local television at the time. So I am having a coffee right now instead of a tea. 10 to midnight for me gets Twilight Time's 10 to midnight gets 5. Yeah. Okay, I'll give it a 5 Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kids, starring Stephen Queen, out of 5. It's a line in the film. Basically, when Andrew Stevens' character tries to see if he actually did go watch the movie or not, he actually mentions that, oh, that's a movie with with Robert Redford and Stephen Queen, and he's like, no, Paul Newman, or it's the other way around. But he tries to trip him up. The killer's too smart for that, and it makes for a fantastic film. If you haven't checked out Twilight Time, you can go to their website to find their films, or you can also go to where they originally used to sell their films at as well, Screen Archives Entertainment. Some of these films can be a little costly, but from everything I've seen so far, the money that you pay for really does go in. There's not a lot of features on these things, but the features that are on, there tend to be more on there now. There used to be just an isolated score, which was like the big thing, because the guy that does Twilight Time, he's big into the film, to the scores and music, and that's what we used to work with before. So the isolated scores of him was a big thing, was a big deal. He kind of made it his calling card. There's a great audio commentary on this one here. I haven't checked it out yet, but I've heard, I checked online to hear about it, and I heard some great stuff about it. So there's some radio spots, original theatrical trailer, and of course, I can't talk about like these booklets enough. I love the fact that they do these with these fantastic booklets. So again, here it is, 10 to midnight, Twilight Time. I'd really strongly recommend it. If you haven't checked out Twilight Time yet, it's a great company to check out. If you haven't checked out Bronson yet, get out there and check out some Bronson, man. He's amazing. Again, I have to thank James Hayes Jr. for this here review, because without him sending me this as a huge surprise, this would not be possible. Have a fantastic night, guys. I am enjoying a super coffee. I'm the Caffeinated Critic, and I am out of here for now. See you guys soon. Check out Twilight Time. Thanks again, James. This really did make my night and my better half's night. We had a wonderful time watching this film together. See y'all later.